because I like to think of the Western office, you know what, I'm going to say the Eastern office, the way business culture seems to have transcended to be, it's very universal at this point. Those cultures are sort of microcosms for the larger mechanisms of society. What I often see with people who enter psychedelic spaces, spiritual spaces, even getting as basic as like people who go to these yoga retreats, and a lot of them come from the corporate world, right? They come because they are trying to escape. They're trying to find some sort of mental way to rebalance themselves or recharge themselves so that they can get back into that environment. And what you're doing, it sounds like to me, is you're saying, "Oh, no, 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 this shouldn't be an escape. These ways of thinking should replace some of the ways of thinking, if not all of the ways of thinking, that are making these spaces toxic to begin with. It should be more holistic." Is that a good way to read what you're doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's it exactly. That they need to be open to it, which means they have to take leadership serious. And I think a lot of them just treat it as a stop along the way to get to where they really want to get to. So they just do whatever, and I'll get through this and then get through playing politics, get to my next step because nobody knows what this is about anyways. They don't even know how to rate me, other than in sales by numbers, but other than that, and those can be deceiving both ways. So that is appearing better than you are or actually being worse than you appear. The numbers don't show anything. I asked a guy once, I said, who's your best sales person? And again, high level people. He said, do you want to know the best salesperson or the one who makes the most commission? And I thought, wow, that's pretty astute. Because really the best salesperson, his numbers didn't reflect it because it's a new territory. He didn't develop it, didn't have enough time. He's but he's the better salesman. And eventually he's going to show that, but the other guy's numbers were better. You see what I'm saying? So they're not measuring by the right criteria in that sense. I don't know if
Yeah,
that
that too. I
answers
mean,
your
there's also
question.
something that I've done recently. I have this idea where I haven't put a lot of this into action. This is sort of for my community with Mental and Phantom Astronaut, and all the people that are following me. I've noticed here in California, especially, that people are aging up and they're not able to achieve things like home ownership. So we've been trying to figure out different ways that we can develop co-living spaces and arrangements and things that people can feel some sense of stability with. And through that process, one of the things that I did is I got a real estate license because I wanted to better affect how this project can move forward. And I'm looking at those materials. Ties back to what you were talking about sales, because so much of that examination is about sales and how to do it and this and that and the other thing. And I'm getting all these mailers, and it's so hyper competitive that sometimes I wonder. I start calling some. I'm not going to mention names, but I started calling some of my friends that actually sell real estate professionally, who've gone through that process, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's really bad in the office because the highest earning person will sometimes, not every time, but sometimes be doing things to undermine or undercut the other people in that office. So instead of having five real estate agents that are selling $1 million, uh, per month or year, whatever it is, you end up with one that's selling 2 million, and then the other ones are selling, $200,000. It's just like numbers for a thought experiment. So the entire organization is poorer because the success of that one person is coming at a price for the team.
Right.
So I
That's
think that
common.
kind of, yeah, I think that kind of illustrates a little bit what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's common. Those kinds of things. Again, it's lack of consciousness that they don't see it. They don't see the bigger picture. A guy's a killer producer. Uh, he's responsible for 50% of the sales on the team. He comes in late every day. Bad manager, let it slide. Good manager, just sit down. There's 10 other people here. They're all here on time. What does it say to them when you show up at 9:45 instead of 9? What is it saying about me when you do that? That I allow that? What's it saying about integrity when I that? And I'm sorry if you can't show up at 9. I know you're responsible for 60% of the sales, but I think you know what's going to happen.